I think it calls like winter pets. Like winter pets. I did not know what that means, so I just drew a colorful trick, a question mark. Polar scientist is when a scientist learns about a polar bear. So this is my polar bear.
That is awesome. You think polar? So you think you kind of agree with Barack that polar science has to do with polar bears?
Yeah.
Sounds.
Started, I wanted to share a little bit about me. My name is Jocelyn. When I went to college, I studied something called biochemistry, which is basically learning about all of the tiny things that we can't see, but that help us live, that help our bodies function, that help other living things work. So small things down to things that are inside your cell. And I'm from Los Angeles. Raise your hand if you're in Los Angeles right now. LA crowd. Okay, beautiful. And since we're talking about a lot of cold things today, I thought it would be appropriate if I shared that my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip. First, we have to go to Antarctica. So everyone go ahead and make a fist for me. We're going to pretend that this is the Earth. So I want you to point to where Antarctica is. Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Where do you think Antarctica is? Excellent. Yeah, I'm seeing some pointing at the very bottom, and that's true. Antarctica is the furthest south that you can go on the globe. It's our icy continent, the very bottom, and that plays into one of the reasons why it gets so cold there. So on Antarctica, this is the shape of it in white. There are 3 stations there that the United States sends its scientists to. There's Palmer at the very top in the peninsula. There's McMurdo at the bottom. That's along the coast, so right next to the water. And then there's the South Pole that's kind of almost in the middle. And the South Pole is at the very, very, very bottom of the world. So we're going to talk about 2 of those stations that I went to. But these are just the ones that belong to the United States. There are stations from all over the world here, from scientists who come and work to study the ice, to study the animals, to study all sorts of things. This picture is one of the very first views that I had of Antarctica from the airplane. So imagine you're in an airplane, you're looking out of that circular window, and this is what you see as you're flying into Antarctica for the first time. So there's a lot of white, there's a lot of ice, it looks super cold, and most of Antarctica looks very white like this, even the bags of hot Cheetos, which is one that I bought at the South Pole and looked like this. And I thought that that was very funny and very fitting, right? Because they're Cheetos from Antarctica. So anyway, this is the first station that I went to. It's called McMurdo Station. And this is what it looks like if you're flying over it. It looks like a little town, maybe like a little town you would find away from LA, you know, a lot of different buildings. You can see that there are some dirt paths, so you're able to walk around from building to building or drive around. There's also a bus that can take you from one station to another. And the interesting thing about McMurdo is if you look in the bottom where that pink dot is, find the pink dot. McMurdo is right along the coast. So it's like when you go to the beach and you can see the water right along the coast. That's what it's like being at McMurdo. You're right next to where the sea meets the land, except that the sea gets so cold, it freezes over. So this picture I took when I was standing on the sea ice. So where I'm standing in this picture melts, eventually melts and becomes water. But in the winter, it gets so cold that it can freeze over like this. It's icy. You can even drive a snowmobile. The most popular seal in Antarctica is called the Weddell seal. And they pop up around this time, like mid-December. I saw so many seals. They were everywhere. So now I want everyone to close your eyes just for a second. And we're gonna pretend we're in Antarctica. And you're standing next to the sea ice. And you're all by yourself. And all of a sudden, you hear, okay, you can open your eyes. So listen to the sounds of the Weddell seal. So the first time I heard these seals, I was terrified. I got so scared because I was by myself and it was empty. And I just heard this like yelling noise, these clicking sounds. I thought someone maybe was stuck on the ice and they were calling for help. Or maybe there was a scientist trying to find me. But when I looked closely, it was just the seals. Now, if you look at the pink dot at the bottom, you see that now we've moved up into the middle of Antarctica. So we didn't just move forward into the continent, we also moved upward. So in this picture where I'm standing, I am standing on top of a piece of ice that is over 9,000 feet tall. And that is one of the reasons why Antarctica, or the South Pole specifically, why the South Pole is so cold. And we had that question earlier, is because when you're at the South Pole, not only are you away from the coast, you're also 9,000 feet in the air. And the higher you go, the thinner the air is, the colder it is. And that's what makes the South Pole so cold that no animal lives there. The only thing that lives there are scientists that live in that big gray building behind me, which is the station. This is the laboratory that I worked at. It's called the IceCube Laboratory. And they use all of this space to study the space around us. So they have a very interesting setup, and I'll have you take a look. Because when you look at this picture, it kind of looks like it's just a building on ice, and it is. There's a lot of interesting things inside, a lot of computers, but the science all takes place below the ice. So now we're looking at what's below the IceCube Laboratory. So if you look at the bottom, you can see the Eiffel Tower. You see it at the very bottom. That's to give you an idea of how deep this experiment goes. It goes so deep into the ice. And if you look at the very top, there's the IceCube Laboratory at the top. It's a blue rectangle at the top. And below the IceCube Laboratory, almost 2 miles deep, are these machines that look like the size of a basketball. There's about 5,000 of them that are buried 1 mile to 2 miles deep into the ice. And what these machines are looking for are signals that come from stars and other big events out in space, in outer space. When a new star is formed or when there's a black hole, it gives off small particles that they call neutrinos. And sometimes those neutrinos will come into the ice and they hit one of our machines. And then we learn about what's out there. Are there black holes? What stars are being born? What stars are collapsing? These are ways that we can study the space by using all of the ice that exists at the IceCube Neutrino Laboratory.
How come it's sunny all day, but not at night?
That's a fantastic question. And So because the Earth is tilted, the South Pole that's all the way at the bottom faces the sun for the entire summer until it's all the way on the other side. So if you have the Earth and you tilt it, then the bottom is facing the sun. So that's a really, 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 really great question.
I drew a polar scientist and I drew a penguin. Hey, polar scientist looking into a gigantic penguin.